They called him the most troublesome man in West Africa. But he wasn't a troublemaker. He was just a king, born a slave, crowned by his own will, and betrayed by an empire that feared his power. This is King Jaja of Opobo, the man who turned resistance into legacy. He was born around 1821 in Imo State. His name was Mbanaso Okwara Ozorumba. Some say rivals of his father sold him. He was taken as a boy and sold into slavery, ending up in Bonny, the biggest trade city in the Niger Delta. In Bonny, he worked under a wealthy chief called Madu. He started as a canoe paddler, hauling palm oil and goods through the creeks, But he was very clever. He learned how the trade worked. He learned how to read people, negotiate, build trust, And over time, he rose from servant to merchant. And by his 30s, this former slave had become one of Bonny's biggest traders. When his master died, Jaja took over the business and the heavy debts that came with it. He paid it all off, rebuilt everything, grew richer than most chiefs. Even British officials, they noticed. One called him the most influential man on the Imo River. But success in Bonny meant enemies. His main rival was a man named Okojombo. Their fight, it wasn't just about business. It was about power, religion, control. Then in 1868, a fire destroyed most of Jaja's stores. His rivals saw weakness and they went to war. Bonny descended into chaos. Jaja knew that he couldn't win that fight, so he made a smarter move. During the so-called peace talks, he quietly prepared to leave. When the moment was right, he took his people, that's like 14 of Bonny's 18 trading houses, and he walked away. They traveled all the way to the east to the mouth of the Imo River, and they built a new settlement. He called it Opobo. It was named after an old Bonny king named Opubu the Great. And on Christmas Day in 1870, Jaja was crowned King Jaja of Opobo. Within months, Opobo took over the palm oil trade. By 1870, they were already exporting around 8,000 tons of oil a year, straight to British buyers. Bonny's merchants, they lost everything. Some said over 100,000 pounds vanished from their trade. The former slave who had built a kingdom had outperformed his old masters. Jaja's rule was very strict, but he was fair. He recreated the Bonny system of trade houses, but under one central authority, his own. He paid inland produce as well. He built loyalty through kinship, trust. He kept his word. But he did not tolerate nonsense. When some inland traders in Kwa Ibo tried to bypass him, he sent troops. People died, a lot. It was brutal, but it kept the system firm. He also refused to let Christian missionaries in. He had seen how they had divided Bonny. Instead, he opened a government school and then he hired an African-American teacher, Emma White, to run the school. Then he sent his sons to school in Scotland on one condition only: no religious lessons. By the mid-1870s, King Jaja was one of the richest men in West Africa. He had fleets of trade canoes, armed guards, respect across the Delta. He even helped Britain during the Ashanti War of 1873. Yeah, he sent men and supplies. Queen Victoria, she rewarded him with a sword of honor, calling him a friendly, independent ruler. But that peace, it didn't last. When European powers met at the Berlin Conference in 1884, they divided Africa among themselves. Britain wanted full control of the Niger Delta's oil trade. That same year, British consul Edward Heath, he arrived in Opobo with a treaty of protection. Jaja was careful. He asked questions, and Heath promised. He said in writing that Britain would not take his land, Britain would not take his markets, and that Opobo would stay under his rule. Only after that promise did Jaja sign. But the ink did not even completely dry before Britain broke its word. In 1885, they declared the Oil Rivers Protectorate, claiming Opobo as British territory. Jaja protested. He sent envoys to London, reminding them, look at our treaty. They ignored him. Meanwhile, British traders like John Holt, they complained that Jaja was blocking their profits. He refused to open his rivers. He started exporting his palm oil directly to Liverpool, cutting out the European middleman completely. So Britain fought back economically. They ordered traders to stop paying him komi, that's the local duty on trade ships. That one, it hit Opobo's finances hard. But Jaja refused to bow. He quietly moved part of his wealth inland into Igbo territory. He was preparing for the worst. And the worst came in 1887. Britain sent Vice Consul Henry Hamilton Johnston with a gunboat. Johnston sent Jaja a polite note. Come and hear my message. You'll be free to go. Jaja trusted him and he stepped into that boat. Minutes later, he was under arrest. They accused him of obstructing trade. He was taken to Accra, he was put on trial, and he was exiled. Even the British Prime Minister, Lord Salisbury, he called it what it was. This was a kidnapping. From London, he was sent to St. Vincent, then to Barbados. When he arrived, people of African descent, they gathered at the port. They were cheering for him. They demanded that the British respect him. They saw him as a symbol of African pride. And his royal bearing, how he was that day, it left an impression on Barbados. Even today, when they say, you are playing Jaja, it means to act proud or noble, you know. He spent years in exile, still writing petitions to go home. And in 1891, Britain finally agreed. But on his way back, he fell ill in Tenerife. The official story says illness. Others whisper poison. Either way, he never made it back home. His body was later returned to Opobo, where he was buried as a hero. In 1903, his people built a statue that still stands today with the word, a king in title and in deed, always just and generous. After Jaja's death, Britain moved fast. Other Niger Delta rulers like Nana of Ishekiri and King Koko of Nembe, they were removed next. The coast fell, one kingdom at a time. Today, schools, streets, even King Jaja Hall at the University of Lagos, they still carry his name. Historians like K.O.D.K. and S.J.S. Cookie, they call him one of Africa's first champions of economic freedom. He wasn't perfect. He ruled with a heavy hand and he protected his monopoly fiercely, but he did it to protect his people, to keep them independent, to make sure that no foreign power controlled their wealth or their destiny. No, heroes are not always saints. Sometimes they are the ones that protect their people's pride at all costs. And King Jaja of Opobo, he never bowed.